Well, guys, it's been a while. Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Phillies Sensitive Media. And today we're having a baseball guy, Sean Media, on here. Sean, thanks so much for coming back on. It's been a long time.
It has. Actually, I don't think I was really on. I think I was on at the end of 2020, beginning of 21, before the season started. And, it was an okay season for Philadelphia. I really don't think they lived up to what I thought they could have been. There's a lot of talent on that team. I just think they're still without a bullpen. They still have issues at center field. They still have issues in the middle of the infield. They have obviously one of the best catchers in Romuto. They have
100%.
Harper. But there's still so many glaring issues with that team that I do want to get into what they have to do, because I really don't believe they're that far out of being, at the very least, a wild card team.
I agree. I agree 100%. Now, guys, before we get into this video, please subscribe if you haven't yet. Please turn on the notification bell. Please like this video, comment on this video, share this video, and let's get into this. So I want to talk about the CBA, which is something that has just been just a terrible story, over the past 2 months for baseball fans. I'd also want to talk about, possible acquisitions, as Sean said, that, could make this Phillies team a lot better. We're also going to talk a little bit about his Yankees as well, since he is a Yankee fan. So any Yankee fans who happen to be tuning into this video, we're going to talk about that as well. So just to start things off, as you said, you did mention about the Phils a little bit. We're going to circle back to that at some point. I think this is the biggest thing that's on every baseball fan's mind. The CBA negotiations. I heard report that Major League Baseball is trying to get a mediator for the federal government to come in and kind of sort this mess out. And it's made a great point off camera before we started here about Harold Reynolds, about how he said, like, you meet 1 to 2 times a week, how are you going to get anything done? So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So Harold Reynolds, I thought it was a really good quote. It was, they need to be in the same room together every day, hours at a time, not this once a week for 1 hour. Nothing is going to get done. All that's going to happen is more time is going to pass. I mean, at this rate, at that pace, if that's the pace we're going from here on out, there won't even be a season, because there's not enough time. There's a lot of issues. They're pretty far apart. This isn't going to get solved with 1 hour a week. They're going to have to go and sit down for hours at a time every day, Monday to Friday, like a full-time, full day of work. I mean, when I heard that they were going to be talking, that was in my mind. I was thinking, okay, great. They're going to be every single day talking. And then I hear, oh, they met today. Next one is next Monday. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How is this going to get?
Where's the motivation? Yeah.
Yeah, like, how is this going to get done once a week for 1 hour? Especially with how many issues there are and how many moving parts there are. You have to be talking on. If you're trying to start the season right away, like, look, if you would have did this from back in December, fine. But it's February. It is, exactly. If it's not the 11th hour, it's 10:45 p.m.
Right, 100%. And you just want to talk about how, a mediator will help the situation out a little bit?
So the reason that they're getting a mediator is because they know that there's a lot that has to be taken care of. They're running out of time. Yep. This could be a good thing. It has failed before, but it also has succeeded. So back in 2013, I want to say, 2012, 2013, when the NBA had their lockout, they had to get a mediator as well, because the situation was getting, it actually affected the regular season, if you remember. And There was no end in sight. And, they wanted to save the season, so they got a mediator, and a deal got done, and they ended up playing 68 games out of the 82. Now, MLB doesn't have the same luxury that the NBA has, where they could just push their season till like June, or, the NBA can go till July if they really want, or even August. MLB does not have that luxury, because you have teams in the Northeast that the weather just starts to get cold.
Exactly.
So they have to get moving.
Right, right. So do you see this meteor speeding this up?
I do. I think that they're going to meet up a lot more often. I think
Uh-huh.
that that's going to be the first thing that happens is they're going to have to say, okay, we got to meet more often. Spring training, I'm going to say it right now. Spring training will not start on time.
I agree. I agree. I
Um,
agree 100%. Yeah, just at this rate, absolutely. Now, why having a mediator? Why would that speed things up?
well, it's going to try to get these two sides to compromise. Basically, MLB wants the players union to budge some because the union wants a lot out of these. The ownership seems to want to mostly keep the status quo, and the players want significant changes. And I'm going to be real. I don't think the players are going to get significant changes. I think eventually they might get these things, but I think it's going to be over like many years, like numerous CBAs to get what they really want. Like for them to really get this, they're going to have to agree like, okay, maybe for like the next CBA, we might have to punt. For example, trying to get to free agency before the 6 years or create an age gap. They already conceded on that they're not going to
Right.
get it. They might have to wait till later on to get that. That might be for the next CBA. It's good news that they are agreeing on expanded playoffs. Both sides they're going to expand the playoffs. It's the question is it going to be 14 or 12? Players want 12, owners want 14.
14 is absolutely absurd.
I think it should be 12. I think 14 is too many. I'm okay with adding two more because you add one more from the American League. If you would have added one more, the Blue Jays would have made the playoffs. And we can all agree the Jays deserve to be in there. They had a great team.
I agree with that. I see that.
And in the National League, it would have been the other playoff team would have been a lot more mediocre. It would have been the Cincinnati Reds.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
Actually, your Phillies would have been one game out of a playoff spot.
Of course, of course. That's how those things always go. I think we were just talking about this, off camera, and I brought this up too about how minor league operations are going to continue to go on as scheduled. You want to talk about that a little bit too?
So theoretically, so here's the deal. For those of you that have minor league teams in your city, don't worry. Minor league baseball is going to be played as normal. The only thing is that players on the 40-man can't play. But that really doesn't affect 99% of the minor leagues. That's only about 15 or 14 players that don't make the 26-man roster. So you might have a few more like players that have to get signed to make up for guys that are not on the 40-man, but minor league baseball will pretty much go on as normal. You'll still get to see your top prospects. Now, the reason why theoretically spring training games can happen is because they're not members of the union. So they could suit up and play in spring training. Now, remember, they have to get ready for their season. What I will say is if this is to happen, right? If they're going to keep, if they're going to have, which they are going to have games. I don't think it'll be under the same schedule that MLB set because I really don't think they're going to invest the kind of money to have like the Phillies or the Yankees go to the other side of Florida to go play the Mets.
Right.
They're going to keep the schedule regionalized because they're going to want to save on hotel because minor league spring training generally is like that. They usually keep them right because they play on the backfields. But obviously, if Major League Baseball is still having a labor dispute, they could probably use the main field and probably sell tickets. I just think it'll be a different schedule.
Right, right. I agree 100%. Just to kind of wrap up the CBA talk a little bit, as we talked about before, your confidence level on this, with the season starting on time, and when you see a deal getting done now.
I'm going to say it gets done late February, if not early March. My prediction is there'll still be 162. You might see like opening day get delayed a week and they push back what's supposed to be the first week into like the beginning of October and we get a World Series that ends maybe the second week of November. I mean, you could theoretically do that. But I believe if you get past like mid-March, right? if it gets to March 15th and there's still no deal, then we're going to lose regular season games. And I really think at that point, late February, early March, you're going to see urgency to get this thing done.
And it already is, right? With this whole media involved, I think they're just starting to kind of get a little bit scared, don't you think?
It's growing. The urgency is starting to grow. The owners don't want to lose games. To me, there was that report that said the owners were willing to lose games.
Leverage.
That's leverage. Their actions would indicate the opposite. Getting a mediator, to me, is their way of saying, we need to hurry up and try to get this thing done. Like,
right.
If they were in no rush, they wouldn't have done this. They want to get a deal done. They have to get a deal done. They lost too much money in 2020 and 2021. 2022, you have full stadiums from beginning to end, normal season. Why would you try to throw that away?
Right. And I was going to wrap it up after that, but now you kind of prompted another question. What would be the repercussions? Of course, they're going to be catastrophic, but in a shortened season, delayed season, whatever you want to call it, both for the union and for the owners.
So the first thing that comes to mind is you're going to see the attendance. I think the attendance would take a hit. I don't know if it's going to be 20%. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be that bad because, there's not going to be a World Series getting canceled. Hopefully. I don't think that would come to that, but I don't want to jinx it. Right. But, being that that's highly unlikely, it won't be that bad. But I do think there will be I think it just will depend. Like, if opening day starts on time, I don't think in the long run it's going to be a big deal. It might be a little bit. But also remember, owners are not that concerned about April being the highest attendance month because it's still fairly cold in the Northeast. So a lot of these teams that are major market teams that are top draws play in the North. Boston, right. New York, Philly. Those teams, April is always the hardest month because it's still really cold outside. I've always kind of said to myself, why do they schedule a ton of April home games for, like, there should be way more games down in the southern states or if, places with domes or retractables.
Right.
That, like, why would you want to have that many home games in April? Like, the Yankees should be playing the bulk of April on the road. Philly should be playing the bulk of that month on the road. Their home games should really start in May. Like, okay, you have a couple of, you have your first week, then maybe you have another small 3-game series. But, that's when you should be hammering out the West Coast where the weather's nicer and you have a dome in Seattle. Hammer it out in April. Why are they doing these games in the summer where those are the times that I'm sure the Northeast would draw much better?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I definitely think that they should, possibly, restructure the schedule a little bit. But to kind of move on here from the CBA, I'm definitely, agreeing with what you're saying. But just to talk about some, acquisitions. The Phillies, I thought we're going to get, and apparently they were very close to, coming to agreement with this guy right before the lockout. Kyle Schwarber, a guy that was a monster for the Washington Nationals and the Boston Red Sox, and had a great month of June in 2021. It'd just be a great bat, a bat that the Phillies need, very badly out in left field, just rake at Citizens Bank Park. How about Kyle Schwarber for a sec?
So Schwarber's an excellent fit for the obvious reasons of he's going to mash, and you need a corner outfielder.
I mean, a center fielder.
Badly, yes. See, the thing is with center field is unless you're willing to give up prospects for someone significant, you're probably best off just going with a stopgap. Like, I think, and this is where I think the Phillies could go for center field. I have no issue if they can get a really big-time bat in the corner outfield. I don't have much issue with the team going to get a short-term stopgap like a Kevin Pillar.
Okay, yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
You only have to give him 1 year, $5 million maybe. He's not the best hitter, but he's got some pop. He had a good year. He's an excellent center fielder. He'd work in that ballpark because it's a little smaller. I think the defensive metrics kind of didn't favor him as much because he played in Colorado and he played for the Mets. Bigger outfield. You put him in a smaller outfield like in Philadelphia, and you have him with Harper, who covers pretty good ground. Now, Schwarber is probably better suited as it. Now, this is an opinion. If there's going to be a universal DH, it's going to happen. Both sides are in agreement.
I like that. Yep.
It's happening.
Yep.
If you get Schwarber, I'm of the belief that you should go get Jock Peterson at left and make Schwarber your DH, because you would get better defense. You'd get basically a center field type guy in left. You're going to need a DH anyway, and Schwarber just isn't a very good left fielder. I would have him be the DH.
I agree.
Go glove first in left field.
Right. But like the problem is, I by far the worst defender on the team is Alec Bohm. And that's the only thing with him. But who's going to take the spot at third?
You could, so you could go with Bohm as the DH. Third base, I'm trying to think who's out there. I mean, I think if the Yankees are willing to shop him, I think you should be very interested in Gio Urshela, because he's a great defender and he's going to make a ton of contact.
Right. Right. Maybe that is some of the Yankees maybe look to move, because just kind of moving into maybe a little Yankees talk here, about the future of the New York Yankees. I mean, they just have failed year after year after year. Haven't, made a World Series appearance since 2009. Of course, they won against my Phillies. Just want to talk a little about the failures of the Yankees and where they went wrong.
So where the Yankees went wrong, there's a few areas where they went wrong. And I think the biggest area was payroll allocation. They are not doing they're not doing a good job with where they spend their money. They're spending too much on corner players, for example. Look at how many corner outfielders this team has, and look at how many first basemen this team has. And yet they're talking about going and spending assets to go get Matt Olson, a move that, by the way, they should not make.
Right.
I mean, I'm going against the grain here. They should not be interested in Matt Olson when they need a shortstop. They need a center fielder. They probably could use a better defensive catcher, and they need another starting pitcher that's going to give them reliable innings. They actually need a number 2 behind Garrett Cole.
Right. Who do you think that guy would be?
So this is the problem. The guy should have been Scherzer or Verlander or Syndergaard. Those were the 3 guys that I think would have made the most sense.
All of them are gone.
And they're all gone. And I don't trust that Carlos Rodon can stay healthy enough to be that reliable innings guy. Like, I feel like Rodon would be like another Jameson Taillon, James Paxton.
Yeah.
They need to go away from those moves. The Yankees need to move away from.
Yeah.
They need to get away from that type of player. I feel like they've been trying to get this kind of player ever since Jeff Weaver failed. It's like Brian Cashman is trying to vindicate himself for Jeff Weaver.
Right. Yeah. I agree.
So where I'm going now is I don't think you're getting a bona fide number 2. I think you're just going to have to get innings. And there's a guy that can give you a lot of innings and that is very reliable. There's 2 guys that interest me. So one you can sign as a free agent, and that's Yusei Kikuchi. He's not as flashy. He's not as good as the other guy. And I don't think the ERA will be anything special, but I think he'll give you 180 to 200 guaranteed innings. And he'll go 6 innings and give you 3 earned runs a game, and that's fine. But to me, the guy that they should be in on, and they should even sign him to an extension because he's a perfect fit for the ballpark. He gives me Dallas Keuchel vibes in terms of the way he pitches.
Right.
I'm going in on Sean Manaea.
Wow. I can see that.
Like, that's the fit for the Yankees. Is he the best guy?
That's not the first time I've heard them connected to him either.
And they should get him. He's a sinker ball pitcher. He keeps the ball on the ground. Lefties tend to do pretty well in the stadium.
Yeah.
And I could see him being a number 2. Because here's the thing. He's going to give you an ERA around 4. But he gave you 180 innings last year after going 54 in the shortened season and 29 in 2019. Because he got hurt at the end of 2018.
Right.
That indicates that he goes like 10, 20 more innings. This is a guy that can give you almost 200 innings, guaranteed. He's only 30 years old. He's still in his prime. I'd sign him to an extension too. I would not only trade for him, I would give him an extension because he's what the Yankees need. He, to me, is a number 2 starter. You could put Montgomery third. And then after that, you can afford to go with who you have now. You have Tyone, you have Sevy, Cortez, Herman, Schmidt, Michael King. Now you can afford to give those guys a shot in the 4 and 5, and you can kind of retool your rotation while still being a really, a competitive team. So I'm all in on Sean Manaea.
Right. Yeah, I think, as you just said, I mean, a ground ball pitcher, Yankees team, I think that definitely could work. Of course, you wouldn't want a fly ball pitcher there. But you want to talk about, as you mentioned, behind the plate, just, kind of, wrap up this Yankees talk, of course, with Gary Sanchez and, what a disaster he's been, especially since, in 2017, he hasn't had, one good season since 2017. I guess 2019 wasn't too bad, but just want to talk about the future behind home plate. And, of course, he's a treacherous defender back there. What do you see as the future behind home plate for the Yankees?
So the short-term future, I think, should be a split between Gary Sanchez and Kyle Higashioka. Kyle Higashioka should be a guy that plays about 80 games a year. And yeah, I get it. He's not going to hit much. He's not a very good hitting catcher. He's probably only going to hit about 200. But we know that this is a world-class defender. He's got some pop. He's a guy that the pitching staff trusts. And if you are going to go with a young guy, like let's say if you go with Clark Schmidt as your number 5, I trust Clark Schmidt to develop a lot more with Higgy as his catcher than with Gary because of the game calling. It's not. It's more than just, he's a good defender and a good pitch framer. He's excellent with the pitching staff. And, pitching wins championships.
100%.
My opinion is, yeah, the offense does need to improve. That's understandable. I get that. And Sanchez is a guy that you can maybe give a little time at DH too. But defense up the middle, I think, is super important. And Kyle Higashioka just is one of those guys that you can trust. He's nothing special, but he's reliable. He's not a long-term catcher at all. I still feel like the long-term answer behind the plate, in my opinion, I know they have Austin Wells, but I'm not convinced he's an everyday catcher and he might get traded. I personally believe, if I had to predict, the long-term catcher is currently not on the Yankees right now.
And who is it?
I don't know who it is yet, but he's not currently employed by the New York Yankees. Right. Whoever it is not in a Yankee uniform right now in the organization. I agree with
you on that because
they're going to have to go get somebody
else. Offensively, I don't think that Gary's. He's been. I mean, of course, he's never been a good defender, but he's not performing offensively, and he's of course not giving you the defense that you need. So I agree with you. I just don't think that any Yankees catcher right now is going to be the catcher for the future. I agree with you on that. Just moving back to the Phillies a little bit, had the reigning 2021 MVP in Bryce Harper. What do you see him doing in 2022? Do you see him carrying over those numbers into 2022? Of course, he after 2015 followed up with a disappointing 2016, where I believe he was hurt. But I want to hear your thoughts about that.
So here's the good news. I do think he will be better than he was in 16. What excites me about Harper, though, is that if you look over the last 3 years with Philadelphia, he has improved every single season since he's gotten there. He had a down, I hate to say this, he did have a down year in 2018 with the Nats. A down year, but he still had 34 and 100. But for his standard, it was a down year because he had such
walks, though, too.
Yeah, the walks helped, but he had such a good year in 2017. He did kind of follow it up with a little bit of a down 18.
I agree. I feel that compared to the year before.
But if you look at 19, in 2019, he was more or less the same as he was in 18, but with better defense because now he was playing a corner, not center field where he doesn't belong anymore.
For a little higher average, though, in 19.
He did. So better average, a little more slugging, one more homer, 14 ribbies. Worth noting, smaller ballpark, though. So OPS plus, WRC plus lowered him a little bit. But then in 20, he improved. He had a really
He
great
also had a
shortened
back
season.
injury. I think he would have been even better. Not to interrupt you. Yeah.
So then he gets better in 20, has a really good shortened
Great
season.
FPS.
Excellent OPS. He walked more than he struck out. All around, if it would have been a full season, he would have dominated. Then in 21,
Yep.
then in 21, 309 average, 429 on base, 615 slugging, leads the league in doubles, 35 homers, leads in OPS. A little less RBIs, but I think that's because Philly
Yeah, it wasn't all his fault.
No, that was on the Phillies lineup not doing what they had to do. Wins another MVP. I'm going to be kind of cautious and say he'll be a little less than he was in 21 in terms of the OPS, but I do think the homers will be about the same. I think the RBIs will go up. The batting average maybe goes down a little bit, but not to the 240s, maybe like 280, 290. I don't think the on base goes down at all because the pitchers are scared of him.
Right, and it's really weird. About Harper is that he didn't really start off the year that great. He really didn't because he got hit in the face, and I think of course the month of April was pretty good to him, but he kind of hit rock bottom. Around late May, his average dropped to around like the 260 mark. He was placed on the IL. Things just were not looking too good around that time, and it took him a while to. I can't believe he hit 35 home runs again. Who knew he was going to even do that? I think by the time around like July 1st, I think he only had like 13 home runs. So, and he even kind of did that in 2019, the second half. Of course, in 2021 he was better, but he just went on an absolute home run tear. So kind of a strange season for Hart, but he ends it off with an MVP. I mean, he just was that good. He was able to just produce that well. And I think the biggest thing for him was that he was healthy. He didn't, of course, at the beginning of the season he had some back soreness and everything, but he played almost every single day. From the end of the season, from like the All-Star break on. So I think that's what the Phillies needed. And of course, he couldn't do it on his own, right? He couldn't get the Phillies in the playoffs. Of course, he did get him to the first, over 500 record since 2011. But one guy just can't, bring the team to the playoffs, as I talk about on here all the time. I am really comfortable with their starting rotation for the most part. I don't really know if Zach Eflin's going to be ready for opening day. But do you see, Kyle Schwarber, of course, I believe he's going to sign with the Phillies, but do you see that being enough? Let me just ask that, of course, with these injuries, hopefully maybe if Aaron Nola could be better, if these injuries could be, simmer down a little bit. A lot of it's just luck, to be honest. Hopefully Rhys Hoskins can be healthier. Gene Segura can produce, have a Gene Segura type season. Didi Gregorius can bounce back. If Al Bohm can bounce back. Of course, JT can go back to his, 2019, 2018, 2020 numbers. Do you see Kyle Schwarber and maybe a couple other minor tweaks? Of course, they need to have a massive overhaul in that bullpen too. I can't believe I forgot to mention that either. But do you see that, being enough to get the Phillies into the playoffs with this, also expanded playoffs? How about that?
So the expanded playoffs definitely give Philadelphia a much better shot. I remember if there's 12, you're one game out of a playoff spot. If it's 14, you would have made it. So with expanded playoffs, this is a no doubt playoff contender. But do I think that this team can hang with the big time teams like the Dodgers or even the Red Sox or the Giants? Well, the Giants I think took a step back, but the Mets, the Braves, do I think they're on that? No, they're not. They're going to have to do more. Center field has to be addressed. I'm okay with the stopgap because I think if you have enough offense around you, you can go with a stopgap. I also think that you can go with, say, I'm a big fan of him. He's not going to hit a whole lot, but he's going to be the best defensive center fielder you can get. I'm good with Garrett Hampson. Because you bat him eighth or you bat him ninth, right? You have all this lineup protection around him. You have Harper. You might have Schwarber. Maybe you add a guy like a Jock Peterson because with a DH you're gonna have to do something there. So you put Schwarber at DH. You let Alec Bumgarner at third. You're hoping for a Didi bounce back, but I also don't think you need to. I am hearing rumors, though, that the Phillies could be in on Correa.
Gosh, please no.
I mean, I get why you wouldn't want him,
Clubhouse
but
issue.
my goodness, though, he would help that team.
I agree.
I
It's a
mean,
clubhouse problem.
it is, but I also think that with Philly, do you want to have harmony in a clubhouse and win 85 games again, or do you want to be a World Series contender?
World Series contender.
And Carlos Correa is going to help you become a better team
Of course.
by a lot. So I would be interested. I know you have Bryson Stott, but Stott could slide over to second or third.
100%.
You're trying to win.
Last week. Yep.
The next move I'm going with, so I'm going stopgap at center. Pilar Hampson's fine.
Yeah, I just wish we could develop with him more, though. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Adam Hazley, major disappointment, man.
Here's where I'm going with Suarez. I'm making Suarez my closer.
Yeah, that's how it was last year, but like he was great in the starting rotation, though.
He was. The only thing that concerns me about Suarez, it's the same thing that concerns me with Nestor, with Clark Schmidt. I don't know if he's going to give you those innings. And I think
I feel that a little bit.
Because you have your innings with Nola, with Wheeler, with Eflin. They all give you innings. And with, I like Kyle Gibson. He can give you innings.
Yeah, he's all right.
But he's going to give you innings. He's fine in the 4 spot.
I know, you're right about that. Yep.
Where I think I would go for the 5, because you need bullpen.
100%.
You need bullpen. Suarez can fit right in there. You don't have to add bullpen.
And that's where he was last year, like before he went to starting rotation in that closing spot.
I think I would go Suarez as the closer. Maybe bring Neris back on a cheap deal in like the 7th.
Houston.
Oh, he went to Houston. Okay, so then bring a couple of ground ball guys like Sergio Romo, Steve Cishek. Go with that reliable veteran. Maybe Tyler Clippard if he's still out there.
Right.
Your number 5 starter, you should go get a familiar face. I think you should go get J.A. Happ.
Oh, man, he's too old.
But here's the thing. He might be old, but he's going to give you 180 innings guaranteed. And he's still a solid, as long as he has a defense behind him, which if you do the moves that I'm proposing, like you bring in Correa. Remember, you're going to have to spend, if you're spending on Correa, you're not going to have the money to go get another big starter.
Not there's many out there, yeah.
Yeah, and Happ was far better in the NL with the Cardinals. He's a better NL pitcher. Give him a defense behind him. I think you'll be fine with that type of pitcher. Again, he's not flashy, but he's going to be your 5 starter. You have your ace. You have your number 2. You have your number 3.
Oh, can bounce back 100%.
Yeah, you have a good rotation. I just think you need a little more innings. And if you could put Suarez as your closer, you're going to be in a good spot because Suarez in the late innings would be incredible.
I agree 100%. So, with all these things happening, would you say, how many wins do you think the Phillies will get?
So, I think it really depends on what they do. As they're currently built, I think they're a max 85 win team that'll, because of expanded playoffs, will get into the postseason. But if they don't add anything, I think they're pretty much just going to be first round out the door. But you add Correa. You add maybe a Garrett Hampson. That addresses center field. Maybe you add Schwarber or Jock Peterson.
Hopefully.
If you can add those players, I think maybe you're not on the level of the Mets or the Braves, but you are a playoff team. You're going to have Bryce Harper. You're going to have your ace with Wheeler, your number 2 with Nola.
Hopefully you can bounce back, as I said. Yeah.
Can that win a World Series? It's possible.
I mean, it's possible.
It's possible, but you have to add. If you add Correa, if you add Schwarber, if you add Peterson, because remember, Peterson's a beast in October. Harper's great in October. Wheeler's clutch. You have a lot of clutch players. Who?
Yeah.
Like you have a lot of guys that step up their game in October. I feel like they have that down.
And Schwarber too in 2016. Look, I mean, he missed pretty much the entire regular season, and he was great for the Cubs.
And he was great with the Red Sox too this postseason. I mean, that's where I like Philly. Is that okay? They're not going to be the best team with these, and Correa's great in the playoffs too. No, you don't like him, but he is.
Right. I
You
agree.
have all these guys, right, that step up their game in the postseason. Even if you don't pass the Mets and the Braves for the division or the first wild card, if there's extra postseason spots, I think the Phillies are a dangerous team in October.
I feel that 100%. Yeah, and anything happens in the playoffs, man. I mean, Atlanta Braves World Series champions, Washington Nationals World Series champions in 2019. It's anybody's shot. Anybody's shot.
Exactly. I mean, granted, I think you have to have some semblance of a good team in the playoffs to do it because, when I saw that Yankee lineup going into the play-in against Boston and I saw Joey Gallo batting third, Andrew Velasquez 7, Higgy 8, I knew they were going to lose. I was like, they're losing this game.
Yeah, that's what they did. Yeah,
They didn't lose. They got smoked.
Yeah, they got absolutely crushed. Yeah. So, that's pretty much it for tonight. I really enjoyed, talking about the CBA. As I said, I mean, all baseball fans are hoping for, the season to start on time. And as Sean and I said, we believe that the season is going to start on time. The Phillies need to make a lot of moves. The Yankees need to make a lot of moves when this lockout is over. Sean, thanks so much for taking the time to call in, man. I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe if you have not yet. Please share the notification bell. Please like this video, comment on this video, share this video, tell the social media. Link in the social section at Phillies Houndstove Media, Instagram, Telegram, Instagram. Follow me on Twitter at Piazza Media. Call or text 267-225-5092. Email me, PhilliesHoundstoveMedia@gmail.com. I was joined by baseball guy Sean Media. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Luke, and I'll talk to you later. I'll see you on Saturday. I'll see you there.